With the first pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Zachary Rizache from Lyon, France, and France's JL Boron-Bresse.
Have you guys ever seen a more universally hated #1 overall pick in your lifetime? I mean, you've even got former NBA players slandering him. Because when that pick happened, my first thought was, I wonder what Frank Mason thinks of this pick. And when I found out he wasn't a fan, I was inconsolable. But seriously, if the only expectations for Zachary Risacher as the #1 overall pick are to fail, and I'm not going to sit here and say he's a Wemby level prospect or he's the next Kevin Durant, but he is a 6'10" wing who shot 40% from 3 in a pro league, was versatile defensively, and is a very good athlete.
Risacher comes up with it. Can he finish in transition? Of course he can!
Oh my goodness, what a finish! Sans jeu pour la jeu.
Now, if only we had evidence of another high-end draft pick being called a bust by every person on social media before they had even played a game.
The Charlotte Hornets select Brandon Miller.
Oh, that's right. The same people who said Brandon Miller would suck and Scoot Henderson was better than Victor Wembanyama are here to tell you that Zachary Risacher can't play basketball. I, on the other hand, am gonna say it right now. The Atlanta Hawks got themselves a great future piece. Maybe he won't be the superstar that you'd hope for from a #1 overall pick, but I'd also like you to point me in the direction of a guaranteed superstar in this draft. And if you want to say Alex Sarr, fine. He also averaged 9 points and was coming off the bench in the NBL, just for what it's worth. But what puts the Hawks in such a unique situation is they have top-end talent already. The biggest problems for them during the Trae Young era has been consistency from role players, both shooting-wise and defensively. You just addressed those two issues with Zachary Risacher. And as far as who he's going to be next to at the forward position, the fit between he and Jalen Johnson gets me very excited. Where you have a more point-forward, ball-handling type of guy in Johnson that can create for himself and others as a legitimate downhill force and future all-star. That's almost a guarantee. And then a more perimeter-oriented off-ball wing in Risacher, and I think they're going to complement each other really well. Now, I know most people have only really talked about his shooting to go along with what he can't do as a creator, but let's get things straight. This is a 6'10" athletic, mobile, willing defender. Just look at him here pressuring a smaller guard 30 feet from the basket. He slides his hips well, sticks with him the entire way, and then swats the shot. Or in this play where he starts out top guarding the smaller ball handler. The screen gets set, so he switches back out to the perimeter before then recognizing the opening and poking the ball free. And with that length, there's also potential to be a rim protector as well. Look at him here as the low man help over and block the guard at the rim. There are even plays where you see him switched onto a big in the post, and he doesn't just give up position. He fights with them in the post, often getting front position before then using his active hands to poke the ball away. A lot of people talk about the Boston Celtics and how they are the blueprint. Well, defensively, even when Porzingis isn't on the floor, they have guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and even Derek White who can all deputize as rim protectors at times. And that's the modern NBA, because with screens getting set further and further away from the basket, it's up to the second layer of defense to protect the rim when the big man gets drawn out, and Risacher has the potential to do just that. Now, offensively is where most of the criticism is, and again, I'm not gonna lie and say he's this 3-level heliocentric 25, 10 and 10 guy, which seems to be what almost everyone expects from the #1 pick these days, but he's got a very valuable skill set in the modern NBA. Simply put, he's a knockdown shooter. Just look at him here catch a pretty poor pass and instantaneously instantaneously gets the ball in his shooting pocket before knocking down the three. Or here where the pass is thrown at his feet, but again, he's able to gather it and then knock down the three. This is what separates okay shooters and great shooters, is their ability to get their shot off regardless of the closeout, pass, or position on the floor, and Ricochet showed off real versatility in that regard. Also mixing in some step back threes and 2 dribble pull-ups when the defense was aggressive on the closeout. And speaking of aggressive closeouts, this is where you will see the variety in his offensive game. He's not going to be hitting you with tween hezzy pull-ups, but if the defense closes out on him, he can put the ball on the floor and attack the rim. I'm talking about two-handed dunks in traffic. And when I think about the combination of shooting and finishing at the rim, there is one other player in the NBA that immediately springs to mind. A tall, athletic, knockdown shooter who was also being questioned because of his handle, self-creation ability, and passing ability. That guy is Lauri Markkanen. Ricochet should be looking at Lauri and thinking, how can he improve his strength and frame to become a downhill force like Markkanen is? Because if you're 6'10" with broad shoulders plus a reliable jump shot, you're going to be able to get downhill consistently even if you don't have the best handle in the world. He's also got really good offensive instincts, like here where the defense overplays him, so he's able to cut backdoor and go up top for the lob. Another play that I've seen Lauri make consistently. And as far as his playmaking, he's a quick, smart decision maker on that end. The numbers aren't going to be huge simply because of his role, but it adds a different dimension to his off-the-bounce game, where instead of just attacking the rim, he's also capable of kicking it out to shooters or making nice wraparound passes to players in the dunker's spot. And it's not like he's a player incapable or unaware of the areas of his game that needs to improve. As a young player, I had to assert myself within a professional team. I've also improved a lot of my three-point shooting, and I feel like I've reached a new level of aggressiveness. My biggest area of improvement is dribbling under strong defensive pressure, but I know I'm capable of it. And there's every reason to believe he can improve his ball handling because he did the exact same thing for his shooting and finishing. And I think being aware of his biggest weakness is important. There's another French player that comes to mind when I think of that. His name is Killian Hayes. He spent 4 years in the NBA, and every off-season workout video I saw involving him was 6 dribble step back mid-range shots, all the whilst he couldn't make a layup with his right hand. Sometimes the biggest strength for a player can be their understanding of their role within the team and what they need to do to excel in those areas. Ricochet is in a position where he's set up to succeed. All of those weaknesses that people talk about in regards to his handle or his self-creation, well, he's on a team that, despite having the #1 overall pick, has one of the best playmakers in the league. A 6'9" do-it-all forward who can also handle the ball, and maybe DeJounte Murray, maybe not. But there will be talent all over the floor regardless to allow him to settle into his role initially and then hopefully build on his game gradually. And I'm going to be completely honest, I'm rooting for Zachary Ricochet more than you can imagine just because of how adamant everyone is that he's going to be such a bad #1 overall pick. Now, if you did make it all the way to the end of the video and want to see more content like this all throughout the off season and going forward, consider subscribing. It's free. Either way, have a nice day. Bye.